Rich and Mike Show, Flagler County's hometown sports show. Here are your hosts, Rich Carroll and Mike Licio.
Yes, this is another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Good Saturday morning, Flagler County. And a good Saturday morning to you, Mike Licio.
Hello, Flagler County. Rich, the next time the Flagler County will hear our voices on the air, it'll be, I was told I can't call it the granddaddy of it all because they of them all because the schools haven't played each other long enough. So maybe it's the grandson of them all. The Potato Bowl on Friday. We are just 6 days away.
Maybe it's the uncle of them all. You know, there's a progression to get to granddaddy, you know, but no, we're pumped up. The Potato Bowl. Hey, school starts on Monday, which means we get football on Friday. Very exciting times here in Flagler County. Obviously for the students and of course the athletes, and you get the season started with the Potato Bowl 1 week from yesterday, and man, oh man, I'm excited about it. And yes, we'll have the broadcast here on the radio, on News Radio WNZF, and we'll continue the tradition that we started last year, Mike, of having a post game. We'll record a show that'll air in this spot the next day on Saturday as a post game show for whatever game we covered that week. It just happens to be the Potato Bowl on Friday, and we'll get our first look in the regular season of both these football teams, Matt Forrest and his Matanzas Pirates, and Coach Turner and his FPC Bulldogs. So we're looking forward to it. A couple of kickoff classics Friday night, and Mike will have all the information on that and the results on his report Monday morning. Don't forget, of course, Mike Licio and the local sports reports every Monday and Fridays from 6 to 9 in the morning, and you can listen to that anytime on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel, the WNZF Facebook page. It's available right there in the Flagler Radio app. So many ways to listen to Mike Licio tell us what happened during those kickoff classics. But Mike, needless to say, that game, that Potato Bowl, is going to be a very interesting game.
A lot of intrigue because this is an experienced Matanzas team coming back that feels like they've closed the gap with FPC having some turnover both in players and coaches. Maybe Matanzas feels like the gap's been closed a little bit there, so they're looking for a competitive game. And then UFPC, you know, they're hoping to be the big brother as always, and they've won on the field 14 of the 16 meetings. There was a forfeit back in 2022, so technically FPC is 13-3 in the series. I did want to talk about, and we'll have reports on this on Monday, of course, as you just said. Episcopal was at Matanzas last night for their kickoff classic. FPC had a unique 3-team jamboree. Basically when they do a 3-team jamboree, every team plays the other two schools a half each. So Terry Parker plays Palaca first, FPC plays Terry Parker second, and then FPC and Palaca will close it out. Will have closed it out for the nightcap. So I'll have a report on that on Monday. I'll be in Palaca Friday night. I will have been in Palaca Friday night and looking forward to getting my first glimpse of FPC on the field. We got to see Matanzas in the spring game, and a different Matanzas team. A lot of players were not available for that game, but I'm looking forward to it. And then once all that's done, once we put the sports on the air Monday morning, we put the pedal to the metal, and it's go time. Volleyball season starts, swim season starts, cross-country season will start, as well as golf and bowling season on top of football season. But we all know that football is a big deal here. In fact, what do we call this place, Rich?
Oh, Football County, of course. That's Mike Licio's name for Flagler County, Football County, especially at this time of year. And, yeah, a lot of great sports going on here locally with the schools, and Mike will be all over that as we get deeper and deeper into the fall sports season. So, as you know, WNZF is your home for local sports. And anything else on those two football teams, Mike? Because I did want to get to something else that you reported on Friday morning.
I think we'll leave it there. You know, we'll have plenty throughout the week. You'll hear from Coach Turner. You'll hear from Coach Forrest. You'll probably hear from a couple of players. I think what you want to get into is who we won't hear from in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because we had talked about it all summer long First Baptist Christian Academy, the Crusaders. They had hired FPC's former head coach and Coach Fish to take to be the pilot program, I guess, the inaugural season, and but that's not happening now.
No, I got a text from Coach Fish about a week ago now, just letting me know that there wasn't going to be a team at FBCA this year, that there just wasn't enough turnout to field a team, because if you're going to play 11-man football, and some schools do play 8-man football, you've got to have at least, even in the smaller classifications, even the schools that First Baptist would play in the small school classification, you need to have probably 25 to 30 kids. I've seen teams go out there. I went and covered a game at St. Joe up in here in St. Augustine, and St. Joe is a 1A school, or it was at the time. They're independent now. And that type of school, they played a school that had 17 kids, and you could do it, but it's really not safe for kids. It becomes a safety concern more than anything when you don't have enough numbers. You could probably take 16, 18 kids and go out there and field a team, but is that in the best interest of the health and welfare of the students? Probably not. So First Baptist put the varsity football program on hold for at least a year. They will still have varsity basketball this year and varsity golf. So we'll look forward to hearing about that in the coming weeks and months. But yeah, as far as First Baptist football this year, they're at least one more year away, which, frankly, they starting that late, it was going to be hard to get all the groundwork laid. It was very ambitious, and I think they have ambitious plans for the school, and I think they're going to do some great things in the coming years. But I think it was a little early, starting in April and May. It's a lot of, you need a little more time in that to put together a football program, as far as scheduling, getting equipment, getting kids, getting the word out. There's a lot that has to be done in a little bit of time. So I expect that, definitely not in 2025, but we'll see what happens in 2026.
Yeah, looking forward to it. That is true. They did not have a lot of time. Obviously, Coach Fish has proven himself here locally. We saw the success he had over at FPC. That's why I thought it was fascinating to see him get a chance to coach again here locally, and actually see a third team play some high school football, 11-on-11 high school football here locally as well. So a little disappointing we don't get to see that this year, but hopefully down the road it'll be something that we get to see as more and more kids at that school get interested in the program and participate. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to the Potato Bowl coming up once again on Friday. I'm looking forward to football, Mike. With how horrible the Yankees have been this year, and baseball, and just it's been a boring season in my opinion. I cannot wait for football. I'm pumped up to watch my New York Jets play and Coach Aaron Glenn get out there, and Justin Fields, and just to see this new era of Jet football, and hopefully finally we can get away from what has been the culture of basically being the laughing stock of the league for a long, long time now, really, for the Jets. The Jets, as we know, have the longest playoff drought in North American sports, which is not a title you want to hold for very long, and until they actually make the playoffs, that will be theirs. So I have a couple of questions. Before we go to commercial break, I'm going to ask you this question, and we'll come back, because I saw this a lot in media lately, and I thought it would be interesting to ask you. So the one question I'm seeing a lot, because these two teams are a lot of question marks, let's be honest. Who's going to win more games next year, the New York Jets or the New York Giants? What does Mike Licio think? What do I think? We'll find out after this.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
Jaguars football is officially back. Be there as number 2 overall draft pick Travis Hunter, quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and new head coach Liam Cohen take the field for the first time during the 2025 NFL regular season. Secure your seats for when the Jaguars take on the Panthers September 7th by going to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We'll see you at the bank.
Yeah, Rich and Mike Sports Show, Saturday morning. How's it going, Flagler County? Hey, Mike, you were at the bank already, and you saw a 70-yard field goal made live. That's actually pretty incredible.
It was incredible, and we're watching it, and it's no, it's not going to get there. It's not going to get there, and then it's like pandemonium, and it should have been. No one's ever made a 70-yarder in a game.
I mean, not even
high
close,
school,
right?
College, pro. No, there was a 69-yarder made in high school in the 70s, but I believe that was at a place that that was at a place, I think, at 5,000 or 6,000 feet altitude. I believe that was at altitude. So that, I think I saw a tweet from a Jaguar fan that put it best, that he did that at bleeping sea level in 200% humidity. He hit it 70 yards. So there was no altitude to help him there. And it's just never been done. And so it doesn't count as the record, but everybody knows it happened. And to me, preseason football, you don't put a whole lot in this. We were talking about it before the show. I don't put a whole lot in the preseason football, but I will say this, on special teams, those are the biggest battles, because that's how you can make a team. If you're at the back end of the roster, you make some special teams plays. So those are the groups that are really given the most, that seem to me to be the most fired up and the most effort is given in those preseason games, because you bring your starters and they're just trying to get some reps and get out. But those special teamers, those people are fighting to stay on the roster and fighting for their lives. So if you hit a 70-yarder in a 70-yard field goal in that situation, even though it's a preseason game, those guys are all going 100%, because those guys, there was 22 guys on the field, and probably about 12 to 15 of those guys are on the bubble as far as the roster. So it was very impressive. It was the highlight of the game, obviously, because it was a preseason game. But you can't, even though it was a preseason game, you really can't take away from Cam Little what he did.
No, you can't take, because it's something that we've never seen before. It's incredible to see them, first of all, line up for a field goal on the opposite side of the 50-yard line, right? Right away, you're starting to say, well, and not only, it's 10 yards on the other end of it. So it's already something we've never seen before. And usually you look at that like a joke. Oh, he's not even going to come close to hitting it. And then when he makes it, and it looks like, well, maybe that would have been good 73 to 75 yards away, and we all know as time has gone on here, and probably, I don't know, maybe the last 10 years of professional football, you've seen a lot of these kickers hit these long field goals. It's become more of a consistent thing, more a part of the game, which just shows, especially with that being a factor, the importance is, like you were saying, of special teams. You can't take the foot out of football, right? It's extremely important. And if you have a weapon like that, where at the end of the half, get me to our, 40, where we can kick the ball from our 40-yard line. I mean, that's a weapon. Those are points. That's how you win football games. So I thought that was really an incredible feat that'll be talked about for a long time. The only thing that hurts it, obviously, like you said, it was a preseason game, so it's not going to be a regular season stat. But everybody who saw it and the people who were in that building know that you saw something that's never been seen before, and I thought that was really cool. For a lot of kids maybe that are, between the ages of 10 and 12, something like that, Mike, something they've never seen before, the Jets in the playoffs, right? So there are people living in this world right now in this country that have never seen the New York Jets make the playoffs. They have been a laughingstock since the Rex Ryan era. Some would argue maybe for half of that regime's time, they were a laughingstock as well. So it's been nothing but a joke since then. I mean, you go down the line of head coaches and GMs and quarterbacks and everything we've seen over the last 15 years with this franchise. This is about as there are not a lot of expectations on the Jets, but it's exciting if you're a Jet fan because you have a former all-time Jet player in Aaron Glenn, who's cut from the Bill Parcells cloth. And, for people from New York, for people who know New York football, that means championships, or at least you hope it does. With the Giants, it was. And at the time when Parcells, his 3 years with the Jets, had one of the best seasons you'll ever see with the 12-4 record and the AFC Championship appearance in 1998. So he's cut from that cloth. He played for Parcells. He's one of those guys. And also a young quarterback in Justin Fields, who hasn't had the success in the league that maybe you want to see from a guy like that. But we mentioned it before. You see guys having success now in their second and third opportunities, whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's Geno Smith, whether it's Baker Mayfield. So you're hoping maybe you could catch a little bit of that lightning in a bottle where Justin Fields comes here and he figures it out. I mean, he was a guy who was 5-1 with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year before they decided to start Russell Wilson. You've seen Justin Fields' completion percentage has gone up every single year he's been in the league. So I think there's promise there. You had the first week of the preseason where they looked pretty dominant. That first week, we know you don't want to take anything out of a preseason game. The one drive, I think, was a 15-yard run from Justin Fields for a touchdown. You hope to see a lot of that. All that leads me to this question. Well, first, let me just ask you this. As a Jet fan, did you take anything out of that first preseason game?
I'm always worried more in the preseason about what you don't do than what you actually do. Because if you go out and have a good game, it's preseason. You're kind of expected to go and have a good game. But if Justin Fields, I think I would take more from it. I'm more worried about the bad performances. If Justin Fields goes out there and he's 3 for 12 for 18 yards with 4 picks, then I'm more concerned about it than I am relieved. So I think what Justin Fields did and what the Jets did is what you expected him to do. He was 3 for 4. He had his series. He was successful on it. So I think you saw what you wanted to see from him. What will we see the rest of the year? I don't know yet. It's too early to tell. We'll get a better look at it tonight in the Jets-Giants because I think these starters are going to play a little more tonight. But it's really too early to tell. In fact, I think the Jets might not be much better record-wise. I think this is a team that will play better this year, but their schedule's tough, and I don't know that their record is actually going to be much better. I don't think you're going to get the reward in the win column this year for what Aaron Glenn is building. I do think they're going to be an improved team, but it's going to be one of those years where they won 4 games last year. They might only win 5 this year and be a much better team in the process.
And, I think the Giants are an interesting team as well in the sense that maybe for a lot of people who are surprised that Shane and Dable get another shot. They get another year here. They get a reset to try it again with the new quarterback. So it's a big year for them. I think the Giants have to win this year. Pass rush maybe looks better. You better get better quarterback. You better get better quarterback play from Russell Wilson. So my question to you, who's going to win more games this year? Obviously, they were both absolutely terrible last year. Giants had 3 wins last year, by the way. But who wins more games this year, the Giants or the Jets?
I do think that the Giants will win more games. I think the Giants are going to be better defensively. They should have solid play from Russell Wilson, although I think you could see a situation where Russell Wilson gets himself in a situation kind of like Justin Fields did last year where the team was doing okay, but they decided to make a change at quarterback because I think there's a lot of groundswell over with the Giants to get Jackson Dart on the field as soon as possible. Maybe not throw him out there early, but I think by the end of the year, unless the Giants, are 8-4 or something like that after going into November, I think the Giants are going to have Jackson Dart on the field by the end of the year, and especially if the Giants get off to a slow start, because the only thing that will save Dable and Shane's job is they could say, well, we went with the rookie quarterback, and they showed promise with Jackson Dart towards the end of the year. That's what could save their jobs if things go off the rails early.
That's the only thing that saves their jobs, because if they don't win, by now you got to win. and a lot of people felt like they should have been fired after last year. So you get another year. If the Russell Wilson thing doesn't work out and you have to go to Jackson Dart, similar situation to back in the day where you had Kurt Warner there, right? And then Eli Manning took over and the rest is history. They didn't win games, but there was a lot of optimism with what you were seeing from Eli. Well, Dable came here as kind of like the quarterback whisperer, right? He helped develop Josh Allen into what he is. So if you can get him a young quarterback that's worth something, maybe you can have similar results to what they had in Buffalo with Josh Allen. So they're going to hang their hat on that. Okay, we stink, but look at how good Jackson Dart is under Dable's system, and they continue to get to do what they do. Interesting thing to me, the betting markets, looking it up, they actually are predicting the Jets to win 6.5 games and the Giants to win 5.5 games, which is pretty interesting. And a big part of that is according to this, is the Giants' schedule is brutal this year. They have a really tough schedule, and the second half of the Jets' schedule is very manageable. So you do have a lot of people predicting, at least in the betting markets, they're telling you to bet the Jets to win more games than the Giants, which I thought was a pretty interesting thing. What do you think about that?
I mean, you look at the Giants' schedule, Commanders at Washington and then at Dallas the first 2 weeks of the season. The Giants never play well in that early game in Dallas, so I think those could definitely be losses. Kansas City week 3, that's a loss. The Chargers week 4, that could be a loss, although the Chargers usually struggle to come to the East Coast for those early games, so maybe they have a chance there. Their first game that I think they have an actual chance to win is week 5 in New Orleans, and then you've got after that, you've got the Eagles, the Broncos, the Eagles, and the 49ers. So to what I said about the Jets, they could be playing better football and start 2-7, 1-9, 3-6 with this schedule, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. So I can definitely see that. I think that both teams are about 5. If I had to put a number on it, I'd probably say 5 for both teams this year, but I could be wrong. But yeah, when you look at that Giants schedule, that first half of the schedule, that's brutal. That's a brutal stretch, those first 9 games. And they could lose 6 to 8 of them. And, maybe New Orleans gets lucky because New Orleans is at home, and maybe the Giants could start 0-9. No, I'm not saying they will. But
0-9.
But
that would
it's
be
not
incredible. Does Dable lose his job mid-season if that happens? Holy cow.
I think it's possible. But I think it's not impossible that they could go 0-9. I don't think they will, but I think with that schedule, you could see how it's possible because it's a tough schedule. And then they got Green Bay, Detroit, Washington again, Minnesota, and Dallas again. I mean, wins are going to be hard to come by. So if you do get some wins, then you will learn that maybe Dable is the guy.
So let's play the game a little. We are the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who's going to win more games, the Jacksonville Jaguars or the New York Jets?
I think Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's, for one thing, their division. They've got the Colts and they've got the Titans in their division, so they should pick up 3 wins right there. Houston showed a lot of progress in year 1 of DeMeco Ryans, and they slipped back. And the Jaguars seem to always have success against Houston, so they should win 3 to 4 games within their division. So I think the Jaguars end up winning probably 6 to 8 games this year. I do think they will end up with more wins than the Jets, even with a first-year coach, kind of an unproven staff. The defense needs work. They've got to figure out how to use Josh Allen and use why can't I think of Walker's name? Walker properly, because that is their big problem last year. Is they have some of the best pass rushers in the league, and they did not use them well at all. So that's going to be a difference for the Jaguars. I think this is a big year for Trevor Lawrence. I've kind of always said that I feel like he's on the Peyton Manning career arc, and year 5 was really, and I think people forget this now, a little bit of a revisionist history, that Peyton Manning was brutal his first year in the league, and he was just okay and showed flashes years 2, 3, and 4. And year 5 was when he really came into his own. So that's what I'm hoping to see from Trevor Lawrence this year as well, taking a next step He has one of the best young receivers in the league in Brian Thomas Jr. So you hope that Liam Cohen finds a way to get him involved, much like Liam Cohen did with Mike Evans when he was in Tampa. So there's some things to like about the Jaguars. I don't think I wouldn't put them in the playoffs, but I do think they'll be a much better team.
You nailed it, because according to the betting markets, not quite in the playoffs. They do have Jaguars winning more games than the Jets. They have the Jaguars at 7.5 wins with the Jets at 6.5, citing favorable schedule for the Jaguars. You get Trevor Lawrence healthy, rookie Travis Hunter in the fold, and I would say that you sometimes do see first-year coaches have success before it falls apart, right? First year with Dable was a playoff year, right? Going back to the Giants, they made the playoffs his first season. We've seen Jet coaches have success their first year all the way back to Rex Ryan. Robert Saleh had some success his first year. So,
Man genius.
Man genius.
I used to call him man idiot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we know why at this point. But no, you were all over it there. So should be interesting season for the Giants. As you said, I agree, big year for Trevor Lawrence. He's healthy. You expect to see him maybe be, by the end of the year, talked about in the same conversation as some of the better players at the position in the league. We'll see if that happens. I did want to bring this up while we have a couple minutes left with the baseball. But before we do that, and I just look, the Yankees stink. Yankees have they've lost 22 of their last 32 games. It's been awful. $300 million payroll. You're fighting for the third wild card. That is pathetic. The Mets, not much better. They've lost 13 of their last 15 games. They just wiped out. They lost a series to the horrible Atlanta Braves this week. They're terrible. Interesting article from John Heyman and Juan Soto. Will the Yankees trade for Juan Soto and bring him back to the Bronx? Because, hey, both the Mets and the Yankees were better last year when Juan Soto was in the Bronx. We'll talk about that briefly when we come back.
Flagler County High School football live this Friday night at 7 on WNZF Radio. This Friday, it's the 17th annual Potato Bowl as the FPC Bulldogs invade the Matanzas Pirates. It's all brought to you by Arctic Breeze, Blinds by Jason, Cash It In Jewelry and Pawn, Flagler Chrysler Dodge, J&J Auto Body, and Palm Coast Acupuncture. Catch all the play-by-play action live with Rich Carroll and Mike Licio on 94.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the Flagler Radio mobile app.
All right, back here, Rich and Mike Sports Show. Not a lot of time for this, but Yankees Mets have been horrible. Interesting John Heyman article. So he went and asked the Yankees. Mets and the Yankees were both better last year when Soto was in the Bronx. Would you take Soto back into trade? This mystery connection with the Yankees said no, and the Yankees said nobody is taking that contract right now. And then I decided, well, let me take a look at the numbers right now between this year and last year. And I mean, it's kind of incredible. Last year, Soto overall hit 288, had the 41 home runs with the Yankees. And this is the big number to me. He hit 416 with runners in scoring position. 416 with runners in scoring position. This year, remember, he hit 288 with the Yankees last year. This is the billion-dollar player just about. He's hitting 252 this year. The home runs are all right. 29 home runs, pretty good. But he's hitting 252. And to me, the big stat with runners in scoring position, 188. He had 416 with runners in scoring position in the Bronx. This year in Queens, 188. Mike, what's going on with Juan Soto this year?
I think he's just pressing. That's why the batting average is down, but the home runs have stayed there because he's trying to get that big hit instead of, being more of a disciplined player at the plate like he has been historically. I just think he's pressing, to tell you the truth. And I want to throw this out there. I know we're very short on time, but I want to throw this out there. This would be, I believe, the 6th time in the last 12 seasons the Yankees have missed the playoffs if they don't make the playoffs this year. Is that really the Yankees standard to make the playoffs every other year? We went from world championship or bust to make the playoffs every other year and everybody gets to keep their job?
Again, a $320 million payroll, and you are fighting for the third wild card spot. That is pathetic. That's not Yankee baseball. What's going on in the Bronx? I'll tell you what's going on in Flagler County. The Potato Bowl on Friday right here on WNZF. Have a great weekend, Flagler County.